go into the contemplation of this subject, this topic, magnetizing our higher purpose. And in the beginning, I was mentioning how in the yogic system, it's pretty easy. Easy is a relative word, but easy if you're on a path where the other distractions fall away effortlessly by doing a dharma. So to find or to magnetize a higher purpose, one of the foundations is to do your dharma, which means if you're in a particular structure, to do one's dharma as a daughter or a son, to do one's dharma as a spouse, to do one's dharma as a parent, to do one's dharma in their professional front. And again, this word dharma keeps coming up pretty often to find one's swadharma. So in the West, dharma is a very, I would say at least well used or popular word. But swadharma not as much. So swa is self and dharma is anything that creates harmony. And like I said, there could be many translations. It could be duty. Dharma could be translated as duty. It could be translated as anything that brings an order in a system. So in a system, only if everybody who is part of that system does their role, then there can be order in that. So actually, it is cosmic order. So how do we act to bring about not just functional order, but also cosmic order? So as we evolve, it becomes more and more subtle. In the beginning, of course, it could be like the commandments, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not, there is value in that. I'm not saying there's no value in that. There is value in having very left brain, thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that. But as you evolve, it gets subtler and subtler. You have to sit with it, and it's no more black and white. You sit with the subtle ways in which probably you can harm yourself or harm others. And that's why we have these Pancha Yama and Pancha Niyama in the Ashtanga Yoga system. So if you look at Patanjali, he codified this system more than 2,000 years ago, but it existed more than 10,000 years ago. He just codified it. And Ashtanga means 8 limbs. So in the classical yoga, you have 5 yama. It almost sounds similar to the 10 commandments. And 5 niyama, totally 10. So 5 yama means restrain. So we're restraining our animal nature. We're restraining, or we're not feeding greed, untruths, this survival instinct, this instinct to survive at any cost. And therefore, if we do that, we move further away from our dharma. So what are the Pancha Yamas? Many of you already know this, but this is like a refresher. To do our dharma, we can have this guideline and say the first yama or the first topic of contemplation is Ahimsa. Ahimsa is non-violence. So in this world, how am I thinking? What am I saying? How am I acting that can cause harm to myself or harm to another? Or how am I allowing another person to hurt me and not having a healthy boundary? So we're also included in the equation. Sometimes we, if we're people pleasing or however we're conditioned, we might forget ourselves in the equation. So when we contemplate Ahimsa, we're contemplating it on a very personal scale with respect to ourselves, our relationship. Then it keeps going. It's the world, how we impact the environment, how et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there are many, 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 many layers to the contemplation of non-violence or Ahimsa. Ahimsa is violence, Ahimsa is non-violence. So similarly, there are 4 other points of contemplation. And after Ahimsa, we have Asteya. So we're looking, Asteya is non-stealing. So how do we steal of our own time? Are we getting too distracted? Are we stealing of somebody else's time by incessant talking? Are we stealing? I mean, I'm just giving rough examples. So it could be different ways we steal energy, we steal time, we steal somebody's affection through manipulation instead of having a straight, open relationship or open communication. So we have all these areas of contemplation we sit with and say, can I communicate my needs in an open and healthy way instead of all this sideways stuff that's happening and wasting my energy? Or if somebody else is doing, can I have a conversation with them so that we're not stealing energy from each other? So again, it becomes very, very nuanced, many, many, many layers. Then we have um, a Satya. Satya is truth or the highest reality. So we're constantly contemplating what is our higher reality? What is the truth of things individually and collectively? Again, many of you know the story of Galileo and why he was imprisoned, because in those times they thought the Earth was the center of, they didn't think the sun was the center of the solar system. So the Earth was, and he said, no, 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 the sun is the center, not the Earth. The poor man got jailed for that because he was speaking against the collective untruth. Now, of course, everybody, we take it for granted that, oh, scientifically, this is what it is. But in 300, 400 years ago in Europe, you know, they thought what he said was blasphemous and he was jailed for that. So similarly, we might have to fight collective untruths. And how do we do it in the most discerning way where we're not jailed or we're not harassed or we're not, put behind bars or condemned for it? So through the contemplation of these yama, so we have Satya, then we have two others which I'll come to. We learn to create these boundaries, these spaces where our lives become more peaceful. Like we said, we don't have to, kind of fight or over engage with everything that's going on because we see right through history this this has happened. So we learn from history, we learn from the stories, and that's why I love when I grew up with all these stories with my grandmother, one sage telling another sage he's wrong and why they should be doing this and why they shouldn't be doing that. For me, it was fascinating because I was like, oh, okay, we're not the only ones dealing with the same problem. For thousands of years, they've had these fights and these disagreements and the bad guys and the good guys and it's all these warring factions, so it's not new, and yet those stories can give us insights as to how to deal with it, deal with life more skillfully. So that's what these stories offer from the Mahabharata, from the Bhagavad Gita, from all these texts. So the other two, the last two yama are, we have Aparigraha and Brahmacharya. So Brahmacharya is usually translated as celibacy, but if you look at the root word, Acharyam is action, and Brahma is or Brahman is the cosmic consciousness. So we're acting in alignment with the divine consciousness. That's what the word actually means. But you might ask, why is it translated into celibacy? So in certain ascetic, in the tantric traditions, they typically don't translate it as celibacy, but in a lot of the monastic traditions, a lot of the ascetic traditions, they do translate it as celibacy because the sexual energy is very, very powerful. And when it's dissipated, then it can drain a lot of life force of us. So there is value in refining one's sexual energy. So we're contemplating our lives also with respect to that topic. And then we have aparigraha, or non-grasping. So in our practice, we're applying all these yama as well. When we do the practice, Clara, I'm very, very happy. Everybody in the teacher training has, or I would say, apart from two, have taught a class, and it's been a beautiful class where they're following all these principles, which means you're not harming your body by pushing it beyond what it needs. You're tuning in. You're sitting with your highest reality. You're not grasping. It's like, oh, just because somebody said, if I do the headstand, then, I'll get all these benefits, and you're not jumping into a headstand. You're moving step by step into what your body is naturally ready for. So this is something I'd like you to contemplate. You don't have to choose uh, all the yama. You can think about, oh, what do I want to contemplate to do my dharma? All of them are interconnected. You'll all come to them, through the same kind of portal. So you can think, to do my dharma better, to contemplate one of these yamas is a good starting point. So you can pick ahimsa or nonviolence. You can pick Satya or truth, the highest reality. It could be little truths, it could be collective truths. Then you can pick Aparigraha, which is non-grasping, non-greed. Brahmacharya, acting in alignment with the divine, but also translated as celibacy. And you all have Asteya or non-stealing. So not just stealing material things, but energy, or allowing somebody, because you don't have healthy boundaries, allowing somebody to steal energy from you, or your own worries. That's also your thought patterns, your way of dealing with situations. Maybe that's draining you. Where is the energy leak in your system is something that we're going to contemplate.